significance of the Canticulum Botanicum. First of all, it's the only book known thus far in the Book of Science which never mentions the name of science. So the book itself does not directly address science or natural philosophy. It's also one of very few books to feature a dominant female voice. The history of science is dominated by great men. We have the Gospel of Descartes, the Gospel of Galileo, the Gospel of Newton. But in featuring the botanic goddess and giving her the main voice through this book, it really adds an interesting gender perspective to our theology. Also, the overt sexual content of this poem was quite shocking in its day. In the 18th century, a group of botanists called anti-Linnaeans dominated British botanical writing, and they thought Linnaeus was smutty. They translated his work and invented new words like chive and pointle for stamen and pistil to sort of desexualize them. So part of what Linnaeus is doing in this poem is also creating what he feels like is an accurate, unvulgarized translation of Linnaeus and really capturing the intent of Linnaeus' system. And it is the only book known to integrate art and science. In general, the faith of scientism looks a bit askance at art. It's even described as a heresy in the Gospel of Descartes. And so it's really fascinating to find this book and see that in this text they're really tightly integrated and considered to support one another. As I said, this is a work in progress. There's probably still 2 or 3 years yet remaining before publication. So some of the work that I'm doing is determining exactly which text of the poem is apocryphal and which is authentic. So parts of this poem, for example, in the second canto, go off and talk about the evils of slavery. We're pretty sure that that's a later addition to the text. That's not sort of part of the original text of the book. So part of what I'm doing is a close reading to determine exactly which text belongs in the Book of Science. I'm also thinking about what is its place in the canon. How does it fit with the other texts in the Book of Science? And where does botany fit into the story of science? So most of the Book of Science focuses a lot on the hard sciences. We have astronomy and physics. Botany is treated as a sort of minor player in the scientific world. So it's interesting to see how that fits into the larger story of science. And then our final question is, should this text be read literally or allegorically? The traditional interpretation of this text has always been allegorical. Darwin was personifying plants, but of course plants don't really have sex lives. But as we heard yesterday from Dr. Shamovitz in his very fascinating lecture, perhaps plants and humans have a little bit more in common than we traditionally think. Perhaps that personification is not entirely false. And so there's a possibility that this book is actually prophetic in ways that we haven't quite considered before. So that concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
Thank you for your very fascinating talk. I do have a question. In your research, have you found any connection between the Song of Linnaeus and the development of gender stereotypes in Western society? And if so, what are they?
Okay, thank you. That's an excellent question. The Song of Linnaeus is interesting in that it reflects gender stereotypes. Like we said, we talked about the Madonna whore complex, and that's pretty representative of gender treatment during the Enlightenment era. But also that it's surprisingly empowering towards women. There is very little sexual violence depicted in this poem. Women are the dominant characters in the poem. Not only is the botanic goddess, but most of the flowers are personified as women, whereas Linnaeus' system focused more primarily on the male parts of the plants. We know that Erasmus Darwin himself was interested in equality for women and educating women. He believed very strongly in that. And so part of what I think is coming through in this text is also his ideas of trying to promote, again, still somewhat within the context of the gender stereotypes of the Enlightenment period, but trying to promote a stronger role for women and a place for them